We're looking at the Tavor 21, the TAR-21 actually, which is licensed by Umarex and Elite Force, and the real one is made by a company called IWI, Israeli Weapon Industries. So you see a lot of this over in the IDF, or the Israeli Defense Force photos. You can get a lot of great shots of the different versions of the Tavor if you kind of Google that. We think it's a really cool, futuristic looking rifle. Again, it's not for everybody. I mean, some people may look at this, and I'm sure we'll get some comments down here below in the thing going, oh, it's a bullpup, it's ugly, it looks like a space gun. We kind of think it's cool, and we really fell in love with this rifle at SHOT Show last year, 2013 in January. Actually had a chance to shoot the real one, and let me tell you what, that changed our mind too. We weren't a big fan of the Tavor. We always thought it kind of looked a little weird until we got to fire it, and how amazing and accurate it actually was, the real steel version. And after that, it was all downhill. We really fell in love with this rifle. So that said, we're looking at the Pro Series of the Elite Force IWI Tavor, which the Pro Series gives you a 1-year warranty and improved internals and externals. So this is actually a beefed up, so you get a really high quality polymer body, very nice, thick polymer, textured very well. Front to rear, it's one big piece, so that actually makes it a very sturdy rifle. There are a couple noticeable seams. It's not that big of a deal, but overall, we really like the solid one-piece body because it makes for a really well-built rifle. And internally and externally, this is made by a company called S&T. We were really skeptical about the S&T. We know they had a lot of rocky start with the Tavor years ago when it very first came out, but there have been a lot of revisions since, and this rifle has come a long way, and you'll see from the review and the test that we were actually pretty impressed with the results. All right, externally, you've got a really big rifle in a really small package. It's a bullpup. So what that means is the magazine is behind the trigger, essentially. That's kind of the short version. What that allows you is to have a really long barrel. Barrel starts to here and goes all the way to here. You got this massively long 509mm barrel, which is like a really long full-length AK, like the big size one, in a package that's as small as an M4 with the stock retracted all the way. So you get this great big long barrel that's almost 50% longer than an M4 in a small package, which we think is a great addition. That's kind of the benefit. Plus weight distribution. Weight goes to the back. The center of balance is behind the trigger between the mag and the actual trigger. So what you get is more of the weight toward your body, which is less perceived weight. It's easier to hold one-handed and fire, which even we shot the real one that way, it was very impressive. And it also allows for less feel of weight, so it's easier to maneuver. It's not that cumbersome, even though it's a big, long rifle. And it lets you move through tight spots. So this kind of works as a CQB weapon, even though it has a long, really long barrel. It uses standard M4 magazines, so any of your M4, if you guys are M4 platform guys, any mag will work. We've tried a bunch of them in there. Elite Force, Classic Army. We tried the Lonex mags. We've tried the HK mags, you name it, P mags. They all fit and fed in here great. So they did a good job designing this rifle to take a lot of the magazines and have them lock in. A lot of rifles sometimes miss out on that, and then you end up with like a weird mix of, I can use this mag in this gun and not in that one. But this one, they did a good job. Being a bullpup, again with the mags, there's a bit of a learning curve, but we don't mind it. It's kind of a challenge for us. We enjoyed actually having something to mix it up, of doing the mag changes back here in the back. Once you get used to it though, it's not that hard. Moving on, you got the trigger guard. There's plenty of room for gloves in here. And then heading on up to the end of the barrel, you actually have a positive 14mm threads, not negative like most rifles on the market. So just be mindful if you're gonna avoid your warranty and take the orange tip off like I did here, make sure you have a positive threaded flash hider to put on in place of it. Otherwise, your guys are gonna be up a creek. Most of your standard ones are not gonna fit. So make sure you have one of those around and handy. On the rail systems, you have one here on the right-hand side only on the front, but it's a pretty good size one. You can put a light or a laser or whatever you need on it, and then a top rail for optics. We really think you should go with optics. The flip-up sights that are on the Tavor, even the real ones, they're just kind of there, I guess. They really don't work that great, at least in our opinion. There's a lot of sight picture blockage on the back one with as big and as beefy as it is. So you can do this, run optics, or another tip is get an M4 flip-up sight or those M4 chop-down handle ones. You can put it right on the rail if you still want to run iron sights, because it's only the back sight that gave us issues. The front sight's perfectly fine. It works great. So that way you can still use iron sights and not have to break the bank on a nice optic. Internally, it's an electric blowback feature. So what you're looking at is back here you have the dust cover that opens up when you actuate the handle here, and it allows access to the hop up. To release it, you press this button here, and it pops forward. It also releases the tension on the motor on the gearbox. So if you kind of have it locked halfway back, when you do that, it'll actually clear your motor, which is another great feature we didn't even know about when we first started using this. Moving on to the back end, you actually have an easy to access butt plate, will let you get to the motor adjustment, and motor wires, which are two of the most common issues you have with an AG for maintenance, as well as the quick spring swap. So you actually can swap this with one tool, a flathead screwdriver, and you never have to take the mech box out. You pop the back door open, it's a pin, you can pop the spring, and you can change the springs. And speaking of springs, on our chrono, this was clocking in at 330 FPS. Online, we read it was shooting harder. It might just be the spring we have in this one, but we actually were shooting 330. We've seen anywhere from 340 to 370 is the numbers that some people have been getting. That might be a different version prior to the Elite Force version. Rate of fire was actually really good on our 11.1 LiPo, 16.5 rounds per second with the blowback engaged, or if you lock that door back like I showed you earlier, you gain an extra 1 BB per second. You get 17.5. So actually it'll take some stress off the mech box by locking that back. So you can disable it very easily on the fly if you want to save some battery life and not have that electric blowback feature running all the time. One more thing before we go, and it's kind of a buyer beware. Make sure when you pick up the IWI Tavor by Elite Force, you're getting an Elite Force 1. There are a couple other versions out there. There's like the Aries out there, I believe, and there's also the actual IWI Tavor without the licensed trades here on the bottom that's actually shipping as the new one. Some retailers are doing that, probably accidental. I doubt anybody's doing it on purpose, but it can run into warranty issues. Make sure when you get it, it has the real licensing on here. It says licensed by Umarex on the actual rifle, and it should. And the box is a tan box with the red IWI logo on it. Those are all very important. Otherwise, you're not gonna get that 1-year warranty, which is so important when you're buying the high-end Pro Series guns from Elite Force. That 1-year warranty is definitely worth the price of admission. So bottom line, we actually like this rifle. It really turned us around. We've been anticipating it for a while after shooting the real one, and this one really didn't disappoint. It's a solid rifle. The Bullpup design does take some learning curve if you're not used to it, but the benefits are there if you're willing to give it a few hours of practice. You get that long barrel, you get really great accuracy, and you get the weight distribution toward your shoulder. So it kind of gives you this massively big rifle in a smaller package. So overall, we really like the IWI Tavor by Elite Force. And if you guys like it too, you can pick it up at any online authorized Elite Force retailer.